Three bone-chilling true night drive horror tales that haunt you forever. As the sun sank low, draping the horizon in shadows, an unsuspecting driver turned onto the lonely stretch of Highway 19. The headlights barely pierced the thick darkness that enveloped the road, but his heart raced with excitement anyway. Little did he know, this drive would take him into the realm of nightmares. Reports of strange occurrences haunted this highway like a dark fog, tales of apparitions appearing in the rearview mirror, whispers carried away on the chilling wind. Each turn brought a new sense of dread, a thrill that twisted in the pit of his stomach. He passed a battered sign flickering "Welcome to Eldritch." The townspeople were known for their eerie, cautionary tales of the road. Strange figures spotted flickering in the trees, shadowy shapes that vanished when looked at directly. Last summer, a couple vanished off this very stretch, their abandoned car left like a ghost in the night. Each legend twisted tighter around the driver. He gripped the wheel, the cold sweat trickling down his spine. As he drove deeper, the air turned thick with an unshakable feeling something was wrong. Out of nowhere, a dull thud echoed, shattering the silence. He squinted into the darkness, but saw nothing. The road was empty, as ever. Was it just a bump? Or something far more sinister? He glanced in his mirrors, his heart pounding as the darkness seemed to pulsate, creeping nearer. He felt a lump rise in his throat, a primal instinct gnawing at the edges of his sanity. He recalled the town rumor that once, late at night, a driver spotted something crawling along the side of the road. Something wearing human skin, they'd whispered, voices low with fear. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As he resumed driving, a flicker caught his eye, a figure trudging along the road, soaked in darkness and barely illuminated by his headlights. Panic surged through him. Was it another lost traveler? The figure turned, and for a brief second, he saw a grotesque face grinning back. His pulse raced, thoughts racing more than he had ever known. In a split second, the figure dashed into the trees, absorbed like a shadow. He gasped, hands trembling on the steering wheel. Who or what was out there? Suddenly, the temperature dropped, breath turning to fog. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up straight. He turned up the radio to drown out the fear, but the static only heightened the tension. Keep driving, he whispered to himself, glancing at the trees closing in on either side, as if whispering secrets meant only for him. As he approached the dim glow of headlights in the distance, he felt a chilling chill slide down his spine. What awaited him at the next turn? The glow grew brighter as he approached the other vehicle. His breath hitched, alternating between relief and dread. Maybe there were others on this cursed road. Maybe they could help. But as he neared, his heart sank. The car was pulled off to the side, its headlights softly illuminating the pavement in a ghostly haze. It was eerily quiet, the other driver seemingly absent. He slowed down, curiosity battling against instinct. Should he stop? Or was it a trap? The legends of Eldritch pulsed through his mind like a drumbeat. He glanced down the road, the trees looming ominously, trying to peer through their branches, seeking secrets of their own. He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat choking him as he scanned the dark interior of the car. No movement, just silence. He pulled up a little closer, the scent of wet leaves and something metallic filling the air. Sweat trickled down his back. The cars inside felt suffocating. He rolled down the window, the night air creeping in like an unwelcome visitor. Hello? He called, the word hanging heavy in the air. To his surprise, a shadow flickered in the rearview mirror, a wispy shape just behind him. He jerked around, but nothing. Just the cold sweep of night pressing against his skin. Ignoring the instinct screaming at him to escape, he grabbed his phone, but the battery icon glared back at him. Dead. You've got to be kidding, he muttered, frustration bubbling into dread. How was he going to call for help now? Just then, a soft thump jolted him, and he turned sharply. The sound had come from the other car. The hairs on his arms shot up, and his heart thudded furiously in his chest as he watched the passenger door slowly creak open. A figure stepped out, shrouded in darkness. He couldn't breathe. The figure moved with a slow, deliberate pace, their silhouette creeping towards him. He gripped the steering wheel, nails digging into the leather. As it approached the light, he felt his blood run cold. The face was like a death mask, hollow eyes, a gaping mouth twisted into a grotesque smile. This wasn't just any misfortune. This was a nightmare incarnate. "Help me," the words shattered the chilling silence, lingering in the air like smoke. The figure seemed to extend a hand, finger crooked, beckoning him forward. Part of him screamed to drive away, to flee into the night, but something, an unbearable curiosity, rooted him to the spot. "Are you okay?" he managed to stammer, trapped between fear and a morbid fascination. Would the figure turn out to be just another victim, or something much worse? As the monster's smile widened, a strange sound echoed through the night, a series of faint, desperate whispers, swirling all around him. He strained to listen. They seemed to call his name. Was it his imagination, or was there a deeper truth hidden beneath the surface of the darkness? Suddenly, the air thickened, a weight pressing against his chest. Panic surged, and before he knew it, he slammed the accelerator to the floor. The monstrous figure shrank in his rearview mirror, but the whispers grew stronger, louder, as if they followed him down the road. What had he unleashed by driving through Eldridge? As he tore down the highway, adrenaline coursing through his veins, he glanced over at the trees. And for just a second, he saw them, figures moving just beyond the light in blurred shapes, eyes fixated on him, smiles etched into their features. "Where are you going?" one whispered, a voice like gravel and honey. He could feel the shadows of Eldridge closing in again, darkness whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. The hunt had just begun. Would he make it out alive? And then came the most terrifying thought. What if he wasn't meant to escape? The engine roared, propelling him into the merciless embrace of the night. Each thrust forward felt like a gamble against a fate he couldn't comprehend. His heart pounded like a war drum, drowning out the whispers that echoed behind him, a cruel chorus beckoning him back into the darkness. Trees flanked the highway like silent sentinels, their branches twisting and writhing as if reaching for him. Shadows danced at the periphery of his sight, flickering whenever he dared to glance away from the road. He wanted to scream, to release the pent-up fear clawing at his throat, but the only sound that escaped was a strangled murmur. Why did he linger? Why hadn't he just turned around? The questions swirled like a storm in his mind, and each answer he conjured only darkened the landscape before him. Eldridge was notorious for its secrets, but he never believed the stories. Now, in that lingering twilight, he felt their weight pressing down on him. Ahead, his headlights illuminated something strange in the middle of the road, a figure standing unbidden between the lines, head bowed, framed by the acrid fog rising from the asphalt. It looked too much like the thing from the other car, the grotesque smile haunting his mind. "Stay calm. Just keep driving," he muttered to himself, racing thoughts crashing like waves as he tightened his grip on the wheel. But fate has a strange sense of humor. The figure raised its head, revealing eyes that glimmered like shards of glass in the darkness. A pulsing light radiated from them, drawing him in, erasing all willpower. Before he knew it, he didn't just see the figure. He felt it, each raw emotion splashing against his disquiet. In an instant, panic overpowered his reason. He swerved to the left, narrowly missing the figure. The tires screeched as they lost traction, skidding slightly before regaining grip on the road. Heart racing, disbelief washed over him. He was alive. A quick glance in the rearview mirror gave him no solace. The figure remained, standing still, now eclipsed by the darkness he sped into. The whispers morphed into something more coherent now, a sinister murmur that sent shivers racing down his spine. "You can't escape," they cooed, mocking him as he fought to regain control over the velocity that threatened to consume him entirely. Then, without warning, the world outside began to shift. The streetlights flickered and dimmed. The familiar surroundings of Eldridge began to twist into an alien landscape. Ferns sprouted with unfamiliar hues. The road ahead morphed into an endless stretch of nothingness. He was stuck in a loop, trapped in a haunted tapestry woven by the very shadows that pursued him. Suddenly, the headlights dimmed. Panic surged again. His car was dying. He slammed the dashboard, frustration igniting like fire in his chest. He had to keep moving. The darkness wouldn't let him rest. With a sudden burst of bravery, he pushed the pedal down hard. The engine sputtered but caught again, dragging him forward into the abyss. The scenery morphed around him. Sinister figures darted just out of sight, their laughter echoing through the hollow night. "Where is your freedom?" one echoed mockingly, its voice chilling him to the bone as the trees twisted into ghastly shapes. Then he saw a glowing sign up ahead, reading, "Exit." Hope surged. Maybe there was a way out, but as he approached, the letters bled together, transforming into a grotesque warning. "You can't escape," it warned, thumping like a heartbeat. With terror coiling around his throat, he wrestled the steering wheel, determined to flee the creeping horror that chased him. Yet the deeper he drove into the labyrinth of Eldritch, the more he realized it was not salvation he sought, but an end to a nightmare he had unwittingly stepped into. What waited ahead? Was he driving toward freedom or into the waiting arms of the very darkness that had haunted him? Before he could process the thought, the car lurched violently, a fresh wave of whispers swirling around him, louder and more frantic. "Join us," they urged. He fought, gasping for breath, but already the shadows were creeping in closer than ever. What choice would he make as the line blurred between nightmare and reality? Would he lose himself to the darkness or find a way to break free? The wheels screamed against the asphalt, the car slipping and sliding, as he wrestled with despair clenching around his chest. The pulsating darkness seemed to whisper secrets just out of reach, its voice a mix of seduction and threat. The night air thickened, pressing hard against him, a shroud of terror wrapping tighter with each heart-stopping moment. "Stay focused," he shouted at himself, his voice barely breaking through the cacophony of noise around him. But how could he? The shadows weren't just behind him anymore. They were dancing on the hood, clinging like a stubborn fog. As the road twisted and turned into a serpentine maze, he glanced at his reflection in the rearview mirror. There it was, that smile, that same sickly grin he had seen before. The figure was still there, following him, its eyes still glowing, those inhumane pools of light cutting through the dark like lighthouses guiding lost souls to shore. "Don't look back," he growled. But he couldn't help himself, each fleeting glance sending icy fingers creeping down his spine. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life, its static filling the void as three haunting words pierced through. "You can't escape." Panic quickened his breath. How was it possible? Was someone intentionally messing with his mind? He slammed the radio off, suffocating the whispers that cried out around him. The deep hum of the engine felt like a heartbeat now, thumping like a war drum in his ears. The landscape morphed again, vicious trees bending and swaying, warping into shapes that screamed of despair. It was impossibly dark, illuminated only by the sickly glow from his fading headlights. Eldritch was swallowing him whole, and he couldn't breathe. "Breathe," he hissed, forcing himself to focus on the road. But even the road felt alive, shifting and changing beneath his tires, pulling him further into its depths. Adrenaline flared. He could feel the hot tide of fear rising, threatening to drown him. And then he saw a shadow up ahead, a moving blur darting between the trees. The instinct to stop fought against his gut, a primal urge to preserve his own life. But his foot pressed harder on the accelerator, defiance pushing him forward. He just needed to get out. The shadow coalesced, suddenly appearing by the driver's side window. It was a face, twisted and grotesque, a mouth opening wide, lips stretching into that wicked smile. "Join us," it rasped, the words slithering through the glass like poison. The car lurched in defiance, but that voice bounced against his skull, drowning out reason entirely. "No," he howled, but the sound of his own voice frightened him more. He shot the car back into gear, heart hammering, praying the engine wouldn't fail him now. "Keep it steady," he urged, but the darkness pressed in around him, laughter echoing in the void. It was a sound that grieved his very soul, each chuckle growing louder, more entwined with the shadows that tickled the edges of his thought. His foot slammed the gas. He didn't care where he was going, just that it wasn't here. The endless road dissolved into nothingness, and he was left spiraling, consumed by an oppressive gloom. Could he really outrun it? Or was it just a matter of time before the darkness swallowed him whole? An abandoned sign flickered in the distance, its words barely legible. Eldridge End. Just as fear threatened to choke him, something unshakable ignited within a flicker of hope laced with desperation. But as he sped toward that flickering sign, his breath caught in his throat. There was no escaping, not from the road, not from whatever haunted this place. The shadows began to converge in thick tendrils around the car, whispering in a tongue he couldn't understand. The world began to spin as his mind grappled with despair. What had he awakened? He couldn't escape. Not yet. Not without knowing the truth of Eldridge. Just as the shadows lunged forward, a blinding flash consumed him, leaving him alone in an uncharted void. What lay ahead? Would he face the embodiment of his fears, or find a way to break free from the very essence of Eldridge? The void spun around him, a swirling maelstrom of confusion and anxiety as he grappled for footing. He could feel the ground beneath him ripple, a soft undulation that mimicked the pulse of his fear. For a moment, time felt as though it had stilled, as if the universe was holding its breath, and so was he. Then, with a jarring jolt, he crashed back into reality. The car was now inexplicably still, parked at the edge of a long, narrow road lined with gnarled trees that arched overhead like skeletal fingers trying to encircle him. His heart raced as his breath came in ragged gasps. He lowered the window to bring in the cool, night air, but found only the stench of decay and something sweetly cloying. He recoiled, instinctively gripping the steering wheel tighter, trying to anchor himself. "Focus," he muttered, but the words felt hollow against the disquieting silence. Outside, a flickering lantern swayed erratically in the distance, casting a wan yellow light that struggled against the encompassing darkness. Its glow gnawed at the edges of his resolve, pulling at something deep within him that he couldn't place. The engine sputtered as he turned the key in the ignition once more. Relief flooded him as the car roared back to life. But the reprieve was short-lived. The flickering light ignited a sense of foreboding, drawing his gaze back to the road. Just a lantern, he thought. Yet something about it felt alive, flickering deliberately, almost beckoning him that a shiver crawled down his spine. Should he investigate? The thought gnawed at him. It was either move forward into the unknown or retreat back into the suffocating shadows. Every instinct screamed at him to drive away, yet every shred of curiosity urged him to discover what lay ahead. He pushed the gear into drive, mind racing as he rolled toward the lantern. Each turn of the wheels felt heavy, as though the asphalt itself conspired to hold him back. The lantern flickered, casting shadows that danced like phantoms trying to lure him closer. The air became thick, pressed down like smothering hands against his chest. As he neared, the light resolved into something more solid. A figure stood underneath it. It was a woman cloaked in tattered white, her face obscured beneath a veil. The fraying edges of her garb seemed to absorb the light, making her appear as part of the very night. "Help me," she whispered, the sound carrying an unnatural chill that spread through him. It felt wrong, twisted like an echo trapped in a well. But there was something mesmerizing about her. Blue eyes sparkled just beneath the veil, pools of light in the darkness, drawing him closer. "Please," she urged again, her voice softening, laced with a haunting melody. "I can show you the way." The way to what? Fear sidled up beside him. His pulse quickened, but he remained frozen, unable to look away as her fingers gestured toward the path she stood on. He hesitated. The shadows whispered again, their voices melding into a cacophony of siren songs promising salvation and delivering darkness. "Don't trust her," they seemed to scream. "Help me," she stepped forward, and the light flickered, casting her in and out of focus. Was that a smile? A snarl? It was hard to tell. Fighting the rising panic, he mustered every ounce of courage. "What do you want?" Her smile widened, revealing sharp features that warped the beauty he had first perceived. "To show you what lies beyond," she said, gesturing toward the depths of the forest. Suddenly, the ground trembled, uprooting the very fabric of reality. The gnarled trees leaned ominously closer, swaying as if they were alive. The darkness pushed against him, a tidal wave of evil enveloping him as the light began to fade. He fumbled for the gear shift, throwing it into reverse without thinking. But she lunged forward, her voice now a low growl. "You can't run. Come learn your fate." With a screech of tires, he slammed the gas pedal, the landscape morphing around him into a dizzying blur. Shadows chased the car, clawing desperately at the rear bumper as he fought against the pull of the night. What would he find beyond the trees? The answer loomed terrifyingly close. As he raced away, the last echo of her voice followed him into the void, whispering promises mingled with threats. "You will return, they always do," the echo taunted. And then, just as he thought he could breathe again, the car abruptly lost power. The engine wheezed and died, leaving him alone once more in the suffocating silence. What now? Would anything in this cursed place allow him to escape the nightmares of Eldridge? Or was this only the beginning of something much darker? The car sat motionless, a vessel stranded in a sea of darkness thick enough to suffocate. His heart thudded like a war drum in his chest, a relentless reminder of how alone he was in this dreadful place. Shadows loomed, pulsating against the frame of the vehicle, and the haunting stillness wrapped around him like an unwelcome embrace. With trembling hands, he fumbled for his phone, a meager source of light and hope. But the screen was black. No signal. No escape. Panic clawed at his throat, a tightening vice squeezing deeper with each passing second. The swirling mental chaos of his thoughts only deepened. He replayed the ethereal woman's voice in his mind, the way she seemed to beckon from beyond the veil of sanity. "They always come back." The words echoed ominously, echoing like a curse settling over him. He needed to make a choice. Sitting there would only draw the shadows closer. He could feel their yearning to envelop him. With gritted teeth, he reached for the door handle, willing himself to embrace whatever came next. With a hesitant push, the door creaked open, both the sound and the sudden rush of cold air sending a shudder down his spine. He stepped into the night. The ground beneath him felt alive, pulsating subtly as though it was a living creature eager to swallow him whole. As he stood there, the forest loomed around him, gnarled branches silhouetted against the inky sky, forming twisted shapes that evoked images of hungry mouths. Every instinct told him to run back to the car, to escape this waking nightmare. But something deep within him insisted he move forward. He took a cautious step toward the lantern, the flickering light now a guide and a warning. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of wet earth and whispering leaves. The lantern swayed, but not just from the breeze. It felt like it was alive, guiding him deeper into the unknown. "Help me," the woman's voice floated back to him, seductive yet foreboding. Each step brought a sickening pull in his gut, urging him to reconsider. But curiosity wrestled with dread, dragging him toward the light, an irresistible lure no mortal should ever follow. The shadows thrummed with anticipation as he pressed forward. Every rustle in the underbrush snapped his attention. What lurked in the dark? Whatever it was waiting for him, eyes unseen but undoubtedly watching. He felt it, a predatory instinct, a desire that seemed to breathe in time with the fog that unfurled around him. Suddenly, the light of the lantern brightened, illuminating the woman more clearly. Her veil fluttered, revealing just enough of her face to send another wave of terror lancing through him. Her smile widened as if she sensed his fear, feeding off it. "Do you want to know what lies beyond?" she asked, her voice transforming, layered with 1,000 whispers that seemed to surround him. It was a question that draped his heart in lead. He hesitated, feeling the weight of the choice crashing over him. Knowledge or blissful ignorance? "Come with me." The gesture from her hand beckoned sharply, and for a horrid moment, he felt an urge to comply, to learn what fate awaited him in this forgotten corner of the world. But a harsh rustle broke through the atmosphere. A flash of movement in the trees snapped him back to reality. A growl roared in the distance, strong enough to ripple through the dense silence, awakening survival instincts buried deep within him. He took a step back, eyes wide, retreating slowly but making the lantern's glow dimmer. The woman's face twisted in irritation, then shifted into a malevolent rage. "Fate cannot be escaped," she shrieked, her voice rising into a wail that pierced the night air. "You must choose." He turned, heart racing, tearing himself away from the lantern and the curse it represented. He sprinted back to the car with everything he had. The shadows surged, following like a pack of wolves, gnashing their teeth in the night. Would the vehicle start? Or had he sealed his fate the moment he stepped away? As he reached for the door, the night echoed with tormenting laughter, and he knew this was only the beginning of something darker yet. The question clawed at him. Would his choice determine his fate, or was it already too late to escape the horrors lurking in the shadows? The moment he flung open the car door, a cold wave of desperation washed over him. He jumped inside, slamming the door shut behind him, the thud barely echoing against the cacophony of his racing heart. Gripping the steering wheel, he turned the key with shaking hands. Nothing. His breath hitched. No sound. No response. The shadows outside swirled closer, as if sensing his panic. The growl from the darkness returned, closer now, a chilling note vibrating through the metal of the car. He slammed the key again, fear twisting in his chest. Still nothing. It was a derisive cackle that broke through the night, haunting and mocking. They knew he was trapped. This can't be happening. He gasped, desperation clawing at him like a wild animal. Adrenaline surged through his veins, begging him to take action. He flung himself forward, grasping for the door handle again, but paused. What if she was waiting for him out there? What if what lurked in the shadows was worse than her? Then came a sudden screech, a tortured sound that could only belong to a living thing, denied its breath. A creature dashed past the car, visible only for a split second, its eyes glowing like embers. It was large, too large for any creature he could recognize. Instinct fired through him. He flung himself down in the passenger seat, heart ready to explode from fear. Think, he hissed to himself. There has to be a way out. His gaze turned back to the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of her, now more a silhouette than a woman. The lantern-esque glow flickered further back, a beacon of betrayal in the deepening shadows. Her voice slid into his ears again, seductive yet taunting. You cannot hide from what you are. You chose to come here. No, he shouted, frustration and fear boiling over. I want to be part of this. His hands flew over the buttons on the dashboard, desperately flipping switches, slamming the radio on. Maybe distraction would help drown out the madness consuming him. But the static droned, growing louder, twisting into a chorus of whispers echoing her original words, mixing with taunts from deeper within the darkness. They always come back. He clenched his eyes shut. Mustering what courage he had left, he pulled down the sunshade to catch a glimpse of the outside world through the narrow slit. The shadows writhed, giving the illusion of monstrous figures twisting and turning, as if they were reaching out to him. A burst of movement in the corner of his eye caught his attention, a flicker of light moving through the trees. It was another lantern. This glow seemed far more stable, more inviting. It sparked a glimmer of hope, a possibility of escape. Maybe, he whispered, uncertainty clawing at his resolve. Maybe if I can reach it. But as he turned the key once more, it cranked loudly, and a new growl erupted nearby, vibrating through the car like thunder. Something big was coming, and it was closer than ever. The growl morphed into a howl, echoing around him, wrapping around him like chains. With a sudden rush of determination, he yanked the gear into reverse, heart pounding like a war drum as he rumbled back out into the darkness, desperate to chase that faint light. But just as the car began to roll, the front headlights flashed on, illuminating a horrific sight in the darkness just ahead. A figure, tall and twisted, stood beneath the very lantern he sought, grinning with a malicious smile that dripped with malevolence. Welcome back, it purred, the words stretching out like a dark promise. With his pulse racing and dread pooling in his stomach, he slammed the car into drive. What choice was left? The shadows flickered, the forest teeming with nightmarish life as he barreled forward toward destinies unseen. Fear clawed at him, a question hot on his mind. What awaited him at the very heart of this terrifying night? And in that dreadful moment, he realized there was no escaping the dark. The engine roared to life, surprising him with a sudden burst of sound that drowned out the shadow's whispers. He pressed the gas, feeling the tires grip the gravel with an unexpected ferocity as he swerved away from the figure and shot into the depths of the night. The headlights illuminated the twisted trees, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. His heart raced. The air outside was thick, electric with danger, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for him to slip up. He pushed the accelerator harder, desperate to escape whatever had lurked just out of sight. His mind spun with questions. Who was that? What did they want? He dared not look back. The ghostly image of the figure burned into his mind, a memory he couldn't shake. But the fleeting flicker of the other lantern tugged at his thoughts. It felt like a lifeline in this terrible, oppressive night. But in his haste, the car jerked over the rugged terrain. Jarring bumps shot through him like a sudden jolt of electricity, making him grip the steering wheel tighter. He needed to focus, to keep it steady, but the image of those glowing eyes kept pulling at his attention like an insistent child. Then, a horrifying chorus erupted from behind him, grunts and growls merging into an anguished scream, raw and terrible. Panic surged through him, but a flicker of white light caught his eye, battling through the darkness. The lantern, it was close now, swaying with urgency. Maybe, just maybe, it was the refuge he needed. He swerved sharply, the momentum tossing him against the door as the trees blurred by. The thrill of the chase surged through his veins, but so did the dread of what was gaining ground behind him. The growls grew louder, deeper, and more vicious. It was a sound that terrified him to his core, like the very essence of fear manifesting around him. Just as he rounded a bend, the headlights caught movement. Shadows danced wildly, revealing a pack of grotesque creatures, their eyes glinting like shards of glass as they darted between the trees. They weren't just following, they were hunting. His heart thundered in his chest as he whirled the wheel, narrowly avoiding one dark silhouette that lunged at the side of the car. The impact sent a chill through him, but there was no time to dwell. He pressed harder on the gas, feeling the tires scream against the dirt, desperate for escape, for safety. Ahead, he glimpsed the lantern bobbing cheerfully. It punctured the nightmare, casting warm hues against the cold, surrounding dark. Hope surged again. He could make it, he had to make it. But as he crashed through the underbrush, the creatures followed, relentless. He could hear their howls merging into one monstrous voice filled with rage. With each rev of the engine, he felt their hot breath at his back, almost tasting the rancid scent of fear they exuded. Suddenly, he skidded to a halt. The lantern wasn't just a light, it was a clearing, a circle of safety surrounded by trees like sentinels. But would those boundaries hold? He leaped out, fear propelling him forward. Just as he scrambled toward the lantern's light, a massive form erupted from the darkness. It was the figure from before, grinning wider, eyes 4 times brighter than the moon, malevolence rolling off it in waves. "Welcome back," it growled again, this time with a sinister twist. His breath quickened. He could feel the darkness behind him, closing in. Could he outrun it? Could he trust the lantern ahead? With a gulp, he turned back to the glimmering light, heart pounding with a singular thought. What if stepping into that circle wasn't safety, but a trap? He hesitated, heart pounding wildly in his chest. The figure loomed larger, its grin slashing across the darkness, teeth sharp and glistening. A part of him screamed to run, but the looming shadows behind him propelled him toward the lantern's fading glow. Time slowed as fingers of dread curled around his throat. He sprinted, each step heavy as if the earth beneath him were pulling him down, trying to keep him from freedom. The howls grew closer, mingling with a rush of wind that whispered promises of despair. Glimmers of hope flickered in his mind. If he could just reach the light, he would be safe, or so he thought. The lantern swayed, casting erratic shadows that danced ominously in the clearing. It felt alive, pulsating with its own rhythm, inviting yet treacherous. The figure followed, gliding smoothly over the ground, its movements defying all laws of nature. The air thickened with its malice, and as he turned for one last glance, he saw its eyes burning with predatory joy. Adrenaline surged. He pushed harder, breath ragged, feet pounding against the soft earth. He reached the circle, feeling the warmth seep into him as the lantern's light encircled him. Just as he entered, spine tingling, the atmosphere shifted. The howls diminished to a sinister silence. Could this be safety? Within the circle, he felt a strange sensation wrap around him, a force pulling him up, easing the weight of his fears. But as he stumbled forward, the light flickered ominously, casting shadows that writhed like living creatures. The figure at the edge hadn't stopped. It seemed to fade into the darkness, waiting, biding its time before it struck. "What do you want?" he shouted, voice trembling but loud enough to pierce the silence. A rasping laugh echoed back, sending chills down his spine. "You think you came to the light, but it's merely an illusion. You've only entered another layer of the hunt." Panic squeezed his chest. The thought clawed at him. The lantern hadn't saved him. The creatures had merely been waiting for the right moment to close in. With every breath, he felt their presence creep closer. Cold and suffocating, he took a step back, but the light pulsed erratically, filling with foreboding. "Why are you here?" The figure's voice slithered into his ears, soft yet sharp, like ice on a wound. "You wanted to escape the darkness, didn't you? But what if you were meant to face it instead?" As the wind shifted, dark tendrils snaked from the edges of the clearing, creeping toward him. He backed away, heart thudding. The lantern's light pulsed brighter and dimmer, threatening to extinguish. Would the darkness consume him? The shadows curled closer, whispering in a language of despair. He could hear the thrum of icy breaths behind him. He couldn't let them outsmart him now. Frantically, he searched the clearing, desperate for anything he could use. Suddenly, something glinted in the corner of his eye. A rusted dagger, half buried in the earth at the edge of the circle. Was it his salvation or another trap? He didn't have time to think twice. He lunged for it, gripping the hilt tightly, feeling its icy metal seep into his skin. Could he fight back? Or was he already too deep in their web? Before he could decide, a loud crack echoed through the night. The lantern flickered, casting shadows that twisted with malevolent glee. He turned to the figure, now stepping closer, confidence oozing from its every movement. "What will you do now?" it taunted. "The real hunt is just beginning." As the circle began to shatter around him, reality twisted, and he felt himself being pulled into the abyss. What awaited him in the dark? The blade was heavy in his hand, but would it be enough? He gritted his teeth. Either fight or be consumed. But in that moment, a horrifying question ignited in his mind. Was there even a way out of this nightmare at all? The shadows crept in closer, a suffocating shroud, as his heart banged against his ribcage like a relentless prisoner. He gripped the dagger tightly, the cold metal merging with the warmth of his blood, a reminder of the decision he had to make. It felt heavier in his palm. Was it a weapon or a curse? Face the darkness, the figure's voice slipped through the air like smoke. "Will you cry, or will you fight?" He took a deep breath, trembling but determined. This wasn't just about survival. He was tired of running. The memories of his life beyond Eldridge clawed at him, a tether to whom he used to be. Memories of laughter, friends, sunshine. He took a step forward, heart raging against the tide of fear. "Get the hell away from me," he shouted, echoing against the trees like a battle cry. The figure's grin widened, reveling in his fear. "Will you take my hand, or perish in your despair?" He swung the dagger, the blade catching the fleeting light from the lantern. It glimmered like a promise, a beacon of hope amid the swirling darkness. The shadows writhed back, hissing like snakes uncoiling, unsure of his resolve. "Enough," he yelled again, more fiercely this time. "I want to go quietly." Dark laughter bubbled up around him, as if Eldridge itself was mocking him. The figure lunged forward, reaching with outstretched hands, fingers grasping for his soul. He lunged, too, thrusting the dagger at the darkness, toward the embodiment of fear it represented. The moment the blade intersected with the figure, a sharp crack split the night, piercing through the thick fog like thunder. The figure howled, the sound rippling outward as if awakening the spirits of the woods. It stumbled back, its form flickering, oscillating between grotesque and ethereal. "Foolish boy," it spat, struggling to maintain its shape. "Even if you wound me, the darkness will embrace you. I've faced you. I've faced my fear," he shouted with newfound strength, baring his teeth against despair. With that, he plunged the dagger deeper, feeling a rush surge through him. Light exploded in a blinding flash. Sprawling outwards, he felt it cut through the fog like a knife through warm butter. The lantern's glow surged, brighter and paralyzing, pushing back the shadows that had once claimed him. As the glowing light surrounded him, the figure shrieked, writhing in agony as the shadows peeled away. Its face twisted in fury, hollow eyes burning with a primal rage. "Know this, wayward soul. You've merely delayed the inevitable." It screamed before dissipating into tendrils of smoke, spiraling back into the dark, losing its form, losing its power. Suddenly, the figure of Eldridge began to shimmer and shake. He felt the ground beneath him rumble as the darkness withdrew, leaving behind a starlit path that glowed softly beneath his feet. "Keep moving," he murmured to himself, urgency flooding his veins. He had to escape before the shadows returned. Craving what remained of his spirit, he darted along the path, sprinting toward the soft glow that beckoned him, the flicker of freedom in the distance. Each step felt lighter. The tangled woods began to part, revealing and opening the sight of the road he had once driven, the cursed stretch of Highway 19. The full moon hung overhead like a watchful guardian, illuminating the night in a way he hadn't seen before. That he paused for a moment, glancing back at the place that had tried to keep him. No shadows lingered now, merely the echo of laughter lost to time and distance. He inhaled deeply, relief cascading over him like a waterfall. Somehow, he had escaped. No more whispers, no more figures, just the road stretching before him, leading back to the light of dawn. As he stepped onto the asphalt, he glanced in all directions, feeling a rush of gratitude and clarity. He clutched the dagger tightly, a reminder of his fight, of the darkness he defaced and conquered. And in that moment, he knew he'd deface whatever came next. Even if Eldridge beckoned again, he wouldn't fall prey to its games. He would be ready. Turning back to Highway 19, he whispered into the night, "You may haunt me, but you will never own me." He revved the engine, the hum vibrating even the most tangled shadows of his mind. With one final glance at the expanse behind, he accelerated forward, leaving the haunted past behind. And as the dawn broke on the horizon, he drove toward a new beginning, knowing he had emerged not only alive, but stronger, a survivor of the darkness. Now, remember this call. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this nail-biting conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.